What's going on, everybody? I'm George, and welcome to another episode of 69 Baja Outdoors. Today, we're going to be going over 10 things that you should check on your Volkswagen before you go on a long road trip. Now, me personally, a long road trip would be, I don't know, anything more than 200 miles one way, maybe 250-ish. So the first thing you would want to do is a full tune-up. Now, that includes your valve adjustment, checking your timing, and replacing your plugs, or at least cleaning them at the bare minimum. And you definitely want to have a spare set of plugs on a long road trip. Number 2 would be an oil change. Number 3, check your fuel lines. Check all of your connections. Make sure that your steel line is routed properly. It's not sitting up against the manifold. Check your hose clamps. Make sure that they're all snug. And if your hoses are cracked by any means, please replace them. Most Volkswagen fires happen because of poor routing and loose fuel hoses. If your fuel hose pops off and fuel pours down the side of the carb or onto the exhaust, it's going to be a bad scene. So another thing you should have with you is a fire extinguisher, and hope you never need it, but please make sure that it is rated for fuel. And another thing to check on your fuel system is the brass fitting on your stock carburetor. Make sure that fitting is snug, because they do tend to come loose occasionally. Number 4, check your brakes. Make sure you've got plenty of shoe left or pad, whichever the case may be. Check your lines for any wet spots, to make sure that your brake fluid is not leaking. Check your hoses, and by all means, top off your brake fluid. Number 5 is to check your wiper blades. I do clean mine quite frequently, so I usually get about a year out of them. They say to replace them every 6 months, so if it's been 6 months to a year, they're cheap enough. Just throw a set of wiper blades on there, because you're definitely going to want to have them if you get caught in a rainstorm. Another thing that's good to do while we're on the subject of wiper blades is to ring-X all of your windows inside and out. Make sure your windows are clean, and you can even put some on your mirror, on your side mirrors, your rear view mirror, and it does tend to stop them from fogging. Not 100%, but number 6 is going to be to check your transaxle fluid. Make sure to top that off. If you haven't done it in quite some time, I would suggest to do a fluid change on your transaxle. Number 7 is going to be to check your tires. Check your tread wear and check your tire pressure. While we're on the subject of tires, number 8 is going to be to check your wheel bearings. Now, that's fairly easy to do, and what you're feeling for is a little bit of, I don't want to say clunking, but you'll feel it in the tire if they're loose. You should not feel any clunking whatsoever. You're not going to hear it, but you definitely feel it if they're loose. If you hear it, you got a lot more problems than, So anyway, check your wheels. If you have not greased your wheel bearings in quite some time, now's a good time to do that. Pop those off, clean them up, and re-grease them, repack them. Number 9 is to make sure that all of your lights are working. Make sure that your running lights are all working, your tag light works, brake lights, turn signals, and headlights. Number 10 is going to be to grease your torsion tubes. There are 4 nipples on your front beam, if you have one. If you're not in a Super Beetle, there should be 4 nipples there. And pump grease into them until grease starts coming out of your torsion ends. Wipe off any excess grease. If it hasn't been done recently, they say you're supposed to do that twice a year. So if you start pumping that, pump it until grease comes out. If that grease is dirty, keep pumping until you get clean grease out of it. Once you get clean grease out of it, then you can wipe off the excess grease and you're good to go. And while you're there, in the front beam area, double check to make sure that your steering box has plenty of fluid in it, and top that off as well. Actually, and I said 10 things and there's actually 11. Make sure that you double check your belt tension, and for goodness sakes, please have a spare belt in the car. It doesn't need to be super snug, but you don't want it really loose either. But check it for worn, crackness, and you should always have a spare. You should always have a new one in the car as a spare anyway, or at least a used one for a spare. I do hope this video was helpful to those of you that plan on, hitting the road in your VWs. By all means, drop a comment if I missed anything. I mean, there's a plethora of things I could have gone with, but this was just like a quick 10 thing or 11 things to check real quick before your long road trips. I mean, if you're going to go 1,000 miles, we could go over an entire parts list that you should have with you. I've already gone over a toolkit. Those are just kind of like things you should have anyway. But on a long road trip, I definitely carry more parts and I definitely carry more tools than I probably need. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you watching. To all my subscribers, a huge thank you. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before New Year's. So please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And share the video if you know somebody that's got an air-cooled VW who could use the info. At any rate, we'll catch you all on the flip side.